Yumi, Proposed Pedagogy in Action, introduces Yumi, a Grade 1 ESL student, her cultural background, school experiences, and her challenges with learning English as a second language. This movie presentation goes into a theoretical explanation of a proposed teaching pedagogy in action and how it will facilitate and enhance Yumi's English language learning. This presentation follows several discussions with Yumi's family and other staff members, and it is designed to aid in Yumi's English development and for future reference for cross-cultural communication difficulties. It is the role of every educator to provide the most productive learning environment for all students in their care. Australia has a long history of teaching English as a second language, and because of its strong immigrant population and culturally diverse society, including a large and growing international population, it is the responsibility of teachers around the world to make English language learning motivating, enjoyable and meaningful, as well as culturally relevant. As ESL and EFL teachers, we are preparing students to be global citizens, no matter where students reside. Yumi is the youngest of a two-child family. Her father is a fluent English-speaking businessman with a slight American accent. Her mother is a non-English speaker. Yumi's older sister is 15 and attends a private independent school where she is excelling in both science and language. Yumi is a fluent Japanese speaker and English is her L2. Yumi is 5 years and 8 months old and is a member of a Year 1 class at Green Spaces State School. She is new to the school since her parents moved to Australia due to her father's work commitments. From an educator's perspective, Yumi is currently at a level 2 on the O'Neill language proficiency scale. Yumi is able to use basic communication using a mixed combination of words, phrases, simple gestures, simple sentences, and visual aids. At Yumi's current level, she is falling behind in her English language education. It is very important to remember and acknowledge that learners may differ greatly in their language learning progress and performance, and it depends on a range of variables, including their personal circumstances and learning contexts. After several meetings with Yumi's parents, it became very clear that Yumi's most involved parent is her mother, and due to his work commitments, her father plays a small part in her development. Through discussions with both parents, the information was laid out that Yumi attended part-time a Japanese kindergarten program before moving to Australia, and the program only minimally focused on English language learning. The focus of her education was her gross motor and fine motor development, as well as her Japanese language development. Her parents conveyed that in her kindergarten program, Yumi was a confident and outgoing learner who was very social and interactive in her learning environment. At Green Space State School, Japanese is offered as the school's low. Yumi appears to be excelling in her Japanese studies, though still lacks social confidence in her lessons. Yumi shows great interest in music and science. She appears to be an avid piano player and is currently taking private lessons at home. She is able to make short melodies quite easily when she thinks no one is focusing on her. Most recently, when the class kept a hen in the classroom as for part of a science project, Yumi became very fascinated by it. During recent Year 2 NET trials, Yumi performed quite well in mathematics and appeared to have conceptual knowledge, but due to her language barrier, she became confused when she was involved in one-on-one literacy assignments. Yumi is a very shy girl who is struggling socially and cognitively. Yumi's language barrier is causing her difficulties in her English speech, her writing, and also in her social interactions with teachers and classmates. Banjo's social theory is based on the belief that learning occurs as a result of observation, imitation, and modeling. Banjo was also interested in the complex interrelationships that occur as a result of human interaction, behavior, and their environment. Due to the fact that Yumi is quite shy and lacks the motivation in the classroom and in one-on-one situations, she is failing to develop any close relationships in her educational setting. In what ways would you, as an educator, build your relationship with Yumi to encourage her confidence in the classroom and build her motivation for learning? Teachers have been trying to encourage Yumi by giving her as much individual attention as possible, but Yumi still appears to lack motivation. Her difficulties in writing are causing her to be unable to carry out any independent work. Yumi's writing skills appear to be at a level 1 on the O'Neill language proficiency scale. Yumi is avoiding socializing with other children during group work or play. Yumi appears to be constantly overwhelmed by the somewhat lively class. Yumi appears to be really struggling with the cultural change from Japan to Australia. Yumi appears to be somewhat shocked and sometimes even overwhelmed by the other children in her class. P. Smith states that researchers in second language acquisition of children have found that there is a consistent developmental sequence among young children learning a second language. There are 4 steps in this sequence. 1. Children will continue to use their L1 in L2 situations. 2. Children realize that their L1 won't work in an L2 situation, so they become nonverbal. 3. Children start to feel more comfortable in L2 situations and start to use words and phrases in their L2. And 4. Children become more proficient in their L2 and construct phrases and then sentences in their L2 to communicate. As Yumi's educator, it is important that she builds her own confidence in her L2, and it isn't forced upon her to use her L2 in situations where she feels uncomfortable. Forcing Yumi to communicate in her L2 when she is not comfortable already will only make her less sociable and closed off in her classroom. Due to the fact that Yumi hasn't built any close relationships in the classroom and isn't exposed to her L2 in social situations, as her educator, it is important to help Yumi build and begin relationships with other children and staff that share interests that she does. This will introduce her to more L2 communication that will spark an interest for Yumi. The following slides go into the proposed pedagogy in action for Yumi and how her teachers have introduced and built areas of language development for Yumi and her classmates.
To develop Yumi's English proficiency, the following goals need to be achieved. Yumi's teacher needs to provide learning experiences that will help her to develop intercultural literacy skills, which include language comprehension and effective language learning skills. These learning experiences should help Yumi to overcome her language barriers so that she is able to communicate effectively with others, develop her writing skills, develop confidence and social skills, and increase her motivation. Teacher pedagogy is known as the styles and strategies that teachers use to teach. They can enhance or diminish student learning outcomes, so it is very important that teachers get it right. The following aspects of teacher pedagogy will be discussed throughout the rest of this presentation: the communicative approach to teaching English, strategies for English language development, a supportive classroom environment, cross-cultural communication, the inclusion of Japanese heritage and culture in the classroom, and an in-class language learning support program. The communicative approach to language teaching is the central approach that is currently used to teach language. The approach focuses on the importance of students developing communication skills to be able to competently communicate in the language being taught. In Yumi's case, she is learning English. The teaching pedagogy used in the communicative approach is based on providing students with authentic real-world experiences in communication using their language too, a meaningful purpose to learning and using their language too, an integration of the 4 macro skills of learning a language: speaking, listening, reading, and writing, the ability to develop language competence through using their language too whilst providing useful feedback. Teachers need to differentiate between what children can do independently and what they can do with assistance. This is known as Michael Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. The notion of the zone of proximal development can be used effectively to scaffold Yumi's language learning by extending upon the English that Yumi already knows. Yumi seems to lack motivation in class, and this can have a very negative impact on her English language learning. To increase Yumi's motivation, her teacher needs to provide her with opportunities to demonstrate her skills. This can be done by involving Yumi in learning experiences that she is able to succeed in and that align with her interests. The ability to successfully demonstrate her skills will boost her morale. This in turn will increase her self-confidence and lead to more positive social interactions. Visual aids are very important for English second language students. To promote Yumi's English language learning, the teacher should have everyday items labelled in both English and Japanese, have picture labels on procedures, example sitting on the chair correctly and holding a pencil correctly, etc. Add photos to the daily schedule, use lots of props and pictures whilst talking to the class, point to the pictures or objects when referring to them, and have communication picture cards for Yumi to use, example for the toilet and to get a drink. At Yumi's school, the language other than English program is Japanese. As Yumi is fluent in Japanese, she can understand and communicate with the LOTE teacher. The LOTE teacher can plan learning experiences that give Yumi the opportunity to use her Language 1 and have her Language 1 translated to her Language 2. As Yumi's self-confidence grows, she will be able to translate for her peers. Dr. Priscilla Clark states that children's play is a very important part of English second language students' development of English. Children learn through play, so Yumi's teacher needs to create an environment where children are encouraged to talk to each other, to engage in dramatic play by providing props, and by providing interesting open-ended experiences.
Supportive environment. The learning environment needs to be supportive of Yumi's language learning and promote success. To do this, the environment needs to feel secure and inviting and be culturally inclusive of all students. The teacher should regularly have discussions with the class about the importance of being respectful and caring towards others to promote an environment where all children feel like they are valued members of the class. Another way to promote successful second language learning is to help Yumi build a strong foundation in her first language. This can be done by providing materials from the Japanese culture in the classroom such as books, posters, photos, objects, dress-ups, songs and rhymes. Respecting Yumi's native culture will aid in facilitating proficiency in her first language, which will have a positive impact on her English language learning. Yumi's teacher needs to support her communication with others and facilitate risk-taking. As Yumi sometimes becomes overwhelmed by other children in the class, the teacher should plan learning experiences that include pair work and/or small group work and encourage her to participate in them. Cross-cultural communication. Teachers need to provide Yumi with activities that will support the development of her intercultural literacy skills. Activities that target letter recognition, phonological awareness, book and print concepts, vocabulary and discourse skills are all effective ways to accomplish this. By first observing English-speaking children engage in these activities, Yumi will be able to see how the sounds of English are formed with the mouth, teeth and tongue. This is a very important step in Yumi's intercultural literacy development. As Yumi's self-confidence grows, she will begin to participate in these activities and further develop her own skills. It is very important that there are opportunities for Yumi to engage in authentic and meaningful communication. Yumi's interests, for example, playing the piano, her fascination with the hen in the science, and her cultural heritage, should be used as a basis to encourage communication with others. Within the school context, there are many opportunities that will give Yumi a legitimate need to communicate information or find out about something. Teachers need to take advantage of these opportunities to encourage Yumi to communicate with others. Japanese heritage and culture. Integrating Yumi's culture into the class will help Yumi to feel a sense of belonging to the environment and will help her to be less introverted around her peers and in class, as well as help enable her to develop her English literacy skills. By ensuring that all celebrations of cultures and displays show both English and Japanese aspects, we are ensuring that Yumi is developing her understanding and English skills at the same time, in a way that is non-threatening or invasive. Through the exploration of the Japanese culture in class, it will help Yumi feel like she has a sense of belonging to the class, help her communication skills, and will also help the rest of the class build an understanding and respectful relationship of Yumi's culture and in return Yumi. Events like the Japanese New Year, where it is expected that all family members gather to the family home and honour their ancestors, can be tied into the curriculum, where the teacher can utilise this so that students explore the differences and similarities between students' daily lives and life during their parents' and grandparents' childhoods, including family traditions, leisure time and communications. In-class support program.